Hello, thanks for joining me. Right, astrology and the astro weather, sort of what's going on with astrology and what it means to us, I hope, for the next week ahead. I'm doing this on Sunday, the 17th of November 2019. And we will go right through until Sunday the 24th, trying to get everything covered. It's a much bigger week than it was last week, although there were a couple of things that were really important last week, not least the full moon and all the wacky sort of dreams and craziness that goes with the full moon. She's waning now, but there are other things coming up next week. That's going to be the end of Mercury retrograde for one thing. But let's start with today in the here and now. The moon is 76.5% full at this moment, and she is trine the sun at the moment, which is quite a happy alignment. It's a good time of balance, harmony. Changes in awareness tend to be a thing, particularly because Mercury is going through the retrograde cycle at the moment, and that really does bring changes in awareness. That might not be what we've experienced so far, but it's when we look back over Mercury retrograde in the future, that is what we'll see has actually changed. So, awareness, relationships can change as well, quite naturally and quite quickly. That's the good news about it. And, a really pretty good time for making agreements and decisions as well. What else have we got? Mercury, which is retrograde, is opposite Uranus. Could be sudden changes, could be awkward situations. On the other hand, there might not be. And I'll get on to Mercury retrograde in a minute, because even though I've talked about it every single day of the retrograde, something seems to change every single day of the retrograde. So we'll have to get on the case there. Venus conjunct Jupiter. Confidence, generosity, feelings of prosperity influence things now. Well, that's great, and that really is going on in the background. I know a lot of us can't feel that at the moment. That's just because there are other influences. But whenever there's a negative going on in astrology, there's always a positive as well. It actually always is in balance. That's kind of just how it always works. So we'll get on to next week in a second. But, oh yes, Mars is void in Libra. I've got to say that because Mars is on its way into Scorpio, and that's one of the things that's coming up next week. It is, I forget which day of Mercury retrograde it is exactly. I believe it's day 18 of Mercury retrograde with 3 to go, because Mercury actually goes direct on Wednesday the 20th, so that's coming up. And Mercury will still be in Scorpio. It's been in Scorpio all the way through this retrograde. And the direct station is on Wednesday the 20th, and that will be in 16 degrees and 16 degrees and 16 minutes. That's kind of minutes as in parts of a degree rather than time. 16 degrees and 6 minutes on November the 20th at 7:12 p.m. UTC. So that's going to be the case in UK, because we are on GMT or UTC at the moment. That's going to be 2:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11:12 a.m. PST. So on the Pacific coast, you will actually have the end of your Mercury retrograde a lot earlier in the day, which is no bad thing. Okay, so let's see where we're going. The moon, is still in Cancer at this moment, and that's been the case through the weekend. Lots of compassion about, but also a certain amount of angst. People can be a bit passive aggressive, and that, I'm afraid, is the way the next week or so is going. But the moon is going to be entering Leo, and that is going to be 1:57 p.m. East Pacific, 4:57 p.m. Eastern, and here in UK 6:57 p.m. tonight, 3 minutes to 7 in UK time. We'll get the Leo moon. Then it's more of a time to be out there. The Cancer influence tends to have us wanting to stick to home a bit, wanting to be a bit more introspective, really, I suppose, because there is just that slight sort of anxiety that goes along with all the care and the compassion of the Cancer moon. So we'll be moving into Leo, and that is a much better time for getting out there and sort of doing things, making your presence felt, and generally speaking, it's going to be a happier time. That's the way it tends to work with Leo, and I'm sure it will in the next week or so, because there's some good things coming, and there's some not so good things coming as well, but the balance of things, generally speaking, is going to be positive, as long as you kind of hang on to that realisation that wherever there's a negative, there's a positive behind it. We're just going to have to look for it a bit in the next week or so. So tomorrow, as I'm doing this, Monday the 18th of Monday the 18th of November. I can't edit, you know. I'm sorry about that. I should just go back and cut this stuff out. But I'm working on a very old iPod and it's really small. And if you try to edit videos, they just kind of all disappear. That's just the way of things, I guess. Right, so Monday the 18th of November, Mars is going to enter Scorpio. And Mars is going to be in Scorpio right through until January the 3rd, 2020. Watch this space, by the way. I'm going to sort of look at all the different planets and what they're doing throughout 2020, research that a bit, and that will be coming up sort of between now and I would hope sort of mid-December. I'd get through that because, yeah, that really is worth knowing before we go into 2020. So much has been said about 2020 and... where do we go with it? That's the question. Just a second. Well, drinking Earl Grey tea is always a good thing. Where do we go with it? Well, in so many ways, we can't really go anywhere because we are actually in the lives we're in. And I'm not going to say we're stuck in this life in this particular way. But, you know, we are basically earthlings, for want of a better word. And these are the influences that are going to affect us. But, you know, like I was saying, you know, changes in relationships and awareness can happen naturally and easily today. Well, you know, it's really maybe, in fact, it really is going to be a good thing to make changes in relationships in terms of what no longer serves you. You know, we all have the choice to do that. Some people like to kind of stay in the relationship they're not happy with until they found something better and then kind of leave and change, and then it all comes as a bit of a shock. Well, there is a karmic side to that, you know, as well. So got to keep it real, really, and keep it as genuine as possible. Be as genuine as possible to really make things work. So Mars entering Scorpio, it gives us actually more of a chance to act on our deepest desires. So it follows on from that change in awareness thing that we've got with the moon trine the sun today. So it carries on from that, but it is kind of passive aggressive, you know. The answers to things tend to come in quite an indirect way. Trying to make a confrontation out of something isn't really going to do any good, to be honest. So going to have your thinking hat on and you're going to have to act, I wouldn't say exactly stealthily, but kind of just kind of go with the flow of things and see how things feel, you know, as you let these things unfold, because it is going to be a natural thing to move on or to do whatever you need to do when the time comes, and the time is likely to come very soon the way things are stacking up. But just, you know, wait until it's a good moment to do it, really, because any kind of confrontation, because Mars is involved in this and Mars is in Scorpio and Mercury is still retrograde in Scorpio, by the way, anything directly confrontational is very likely to backfire at the moment, you know. So, you know, be genuine, keep moving towards the goals that you want, but just be careful about how you do it. And that isn't just an astrology thing, that's a human being thing. And we would do well to remember that. We wouldn't do so well if we forgot it. Okay, so moving on Wednesday the 20th, we get to the end of Mercury Retrograde at last. As I said all about that already. But it is, you know, the end of a Mercury Retrograde in Scorpio. There's going to be a post-shadow, which is going to go on until the 7th of December. We may still see kind of complications around travel, transport, communication, all the Mercury Retrograde stuff, in fact. But that's in a much lower key sort of way once we get into the post-shadow, and we tend to be finding reasons and seeing reasons why things have actually happened. And it's much better to just find them naturally when you see them than to try and dig in and find reasons, because the universe shows us stuff when it wants to. You know, if we try and force its hand, we've got no chance, because it is rather a lot bigger than us, let's face it. The other big thing coming up next, well, it's a couple more actually. On Friday the 22nd, the sun is going to enter Sagittarius, and that is going to make, excuse me, that is going to bring things a lot more out there. When the sun's in Sagittarius, it's almost as if the process of living, the stuff we go through every day, has more hooks on it, and there's lots of things that randomly try and hook up our attention and get us going in that whatever direction that wants us to go. But the thing to do is try and choose what you actually want to do, what you're actually interested in. And again, take a little bit of time, let it happen when it happens, because the sun is going to be in Sagittarius for quite a while. Excuse me. So it's going to be good to kind of choose a plan and stick to one plan. It's a very scattered and random kind of influence when the sun is in Sag, because the sun has to do with kind of rules and regulations and the way we regulate our own lives, the way we manage ourselves. So we've got to try and be responsible about that, I suppose. It's quite a dirty word in my house, but try and be responsible. Sunday the 24th, Venus is going to conjunct Jupiter in Mars, but Mars is opposite Uranus. Now, usually Venus being with Jupiter in Sagittarius brings good luck, actually, and I'm sure it will, in one form or another. There's no reason to think that isn't going to happen, because it's there and it's indicated. But the same day Mars enters... No, it doesn't. Mars opposes Uranus, and an opposition is not that much of a positive alignment. It chances to be stormy, it chances to be unpredictable. Violence, accidents and disturbed weather patterns are associated with that, and there is actually another reason why earlier in the week, kind of more or less from now till kind of Tuesday, Wednesday, bringing any kind of relationships to an end, or bringing anything to an end really, might cause just more of a disturbance than it should. Let's put it that way. Things could backfire, so really do be careful. That is really not actually indicated until next Sunday, the 24th. But we are headed that way. These are applying aspects. These are influences which are slowly but very surely coming into being. But there is a lot of opportunity coming up in the week ahead to be creative, not just in terms of kind of what you usually do for your creative activities, but to be creative with your life and to be creative with the direction it's taking. Okay, let's just have a quick look at where the moon is going in the next week. I am with Llewellyn's, whatever this is again. I can never remember what it's called, but it's really good. Yeah, Llewellyn's 2019 Daily Planetary Guide, and very soon we'll be into Llewellyn's 2020 version of it. Goodness me, with all the retrogrades indicated and everything. Okay, so moon in Leo from later today, as I was saying, and then on Tuesday the 19th, the moon enters Virgo, in fact, and that's going to be 5:54 p.m. Pacific, 8:54 p.m. Eastern, and 10:54 p.m. here in UK. So in UK, it's almost going to be Wednesday before that happens. But then we go into Virgo, and we have to be that bit more careful with things, and that really does play into the other alignments. I wrote them all down somewhere. Yeah, because at that point, Mars is still going to be sort of quite freshly in Scorpio. And so that passive-aggressive thing is likely to be quite amplified with the moon in Virgo. And then on Thursday the 21st, the moon enters Libra, and that's going to be 8:20 p.m. Pacific, 11:20 p.m. Eastern, and actually it's going to be on Friday the 22nd in UK at 1:20 a.m. I rather hope to be asleep by then. Sleeping patterns haven't been great in the last week or so. I did put a video out about it because it had so much to do with Mercury Retrograde, and it's had a lot to do with the full moon as well, because it was a Pisces full moon, and it brought those dreams. And normally I kind of celebrate having dreams because it's a great connection to the outer realms, the things that so many people who aren't into these spiritual pursuits or into astrology in any way, people like that sort of miss what's going on, and the dreams bring a closer link, and we actually get to understand what the dreams are about if we kind of focus in on them a bit. But mine weren't very nice, and I've heard from other people whose dreams weren't very nice. However, my daughter in particular says she's been having really good dreams ever since, and I've heard from other people who have as well. So, things are always changing, but things are different for different people. I'm always saying when I do the tarot readings, it's different strokes for different folks with those, and it is with any kind of cosmic knowledge that comes in. Anyway, we'll have a quick look at Saturday and Sunday as well, because the moon is going to enter Scorpio at 9:58 p.m. Pacific on Saturday, 12:58 a.m., 2 minutes to 1 a.m. Eastern on Sunday the 24th, and 17:58, 2 minutes to 6 p.m. here in UK next Sunday. But that is a week away. The moon will still be in Libra then, and we will still be seeing more balance. I'm going to say we'll be seeing more balance. Moon in Libra is more to do with people seeking balance, but because of the other alignments in the week, I think we'll actually be seeing balance, because there are a few alignments coming up there, as I've said, that are going to throw things out of balance a bit. Okay, well, I think we'll leave it there. Thanks ever so much for watching. Have a fantastic week ahead. Thumbs up, please, if you've enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment. We'll share the journey. And just a bit of a heads up, do come over and join the Twig Brother Facebook page. Just go on onto Facebook and type in Twig Brother and I'll be there. The reason I say that, I mean, it's always great to connect with people in as many places as possible, and that's really what it's all about. But YouTube has announced the third massive string of changes this year. Actually, there's been a lot of changes all through the year, and it's sort of made things not impossible, but a bit awkward. And at the moment, they want me to tick a box or something to certify that I don't make content for children. And I'm all in favour of this. Is to do with child protection rules that have come in about the internet in America, and because YouTube's based in America, we've got to go along with that. And I don't mind. I'm all in favour of child protection. The internet is just not as safe as it should be for children, and I think this is going to do a fair bit to address it. But I don't make content for kids. I'm not trying to draw kids in. There's nothing I really do that's aimed at children, and certainly if there is ever going to be advertising on this channel, which I'm beginning to doubt, but if there ever is, it's not going to be anything that's aimed at children. So I've been on YouTube and I've ticked the box, and it still reminds me that I haven't ticked the box yet, you know, and they're going to change this on December the 10th. So if they still don't believe that I've ticked the box by December the 10th, not November, if they still don't believe that I've ticked the box by then, basically, I've done it. Hopefully, I'm not too screwed, but I think they might show my content to fewer people. And since we're in the realm of kind of 30 to 40 views per video at the moment, that is not going to do me a great deal of good, believe me. So that might mean that you find it easy to find me on Facebook, if that's the way it goes. I hope it doesn't just keep asking the angels and I just keep saying my prayers. And that really, I think, is the best way to get through anything that astrology or this world or anything throws at us. Just constantly remembering that we are kind of astral beings, you know, and I'm sorry if you don't believe in that. I'm just kind of saying it because I do, and I know a lot of people who watch do. I strongly believe that we are kind of, we're living one of a string of lives at the moment. It's all about reincarnation, really. And we have to make the best of this life that we're actually in without too much knowledge of the other lives. And that's why it almost seems cut off. We see more of it in dreams, we certainly do, and we get that constant reminder of the other side of things. But generally speaking, it's best to keep facing ahead and to keep dealing with this life as best we can. But it's so good to know that we are actually part of a much bigger picture and that there are bigger things going on. Right, well, I've talked more than I was going to, but there we go. Thanks very much for watching. I think I've said all that. Comment, journey, thumbs up, subscribe, tap the bell, etc., etc. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.